essentially, we had the opportunity to follow a group of men who are in search of Noah's Ark. And, growing up, I'd always, heard about Noah's Ark. And as you know, the Noah story, people wonder, whatever happened to the Ark? And there's thousands of years of history and sightings and myth and local legends that talk about this ark up in the mountains of Ararat in what is now eastern Turkey. So we had the opportunity to go and film a group of men who are going to 17,000 feet on the top of Mount Ararat to conduct a scientific expedition.
That's incredible. I actually spent some time in Turkey, and it's a part of the lore there. And the more that I travel around the world, the more I hear about the flood myth. It's in many, many cultures. Can you talk about what led you to this story?
Well, what a lot of people don't understand is that while Noah's flood is dominant in Christian religion, it's also part of Jewish and Islam. And so with the three main monotheistic religions having this story in their background, that represents a great portion of the world who know about Noah. But interestingly enough, there's over 400 local flood legends. Asia, South America, the South Pacific, all of these cultures have a flood legend. And in many of these flood legends, a family was saved. And so you start to see the similarities between Noah and other stories around the world. And what you understand is that this is a global phenomenon. And it's a story that has immense interest around the world.
Absolutely. That's so fascinating to think that countries that are pretty far apart, thousands and thousands of years ago, have the same story. It's incredible.
And it was a great challenge for our film, because how do you take all of this history? How do you take all of the similarities, these different stories? When I started this, it was very important for me to get out the message that exploration is critical to civilization. And so I wanted to look into the hearts of these men who still, in modern day, still go and explore to find this immensely important religious artifact. But they still go and explore. And through this exploration, we learn so much. And for us as a film crew, to learn about Eastern Turkey, to learn about the history, to learn about all these flood myths, it's something that I want to share to everyone.
I think that's so great, because when I moved to Turkey, I had several people that are like, well, do they have cars there? I mean, you ride camels. There's so much misinformation about a country that has an amazing ally with America. It's a very Western country. It has a deep, incredible history. Tell us, what did you love about Turkey? Tell us just a story about your experience there.
Well, for me, it was almost the opposite of what you just explained, because I knew that part of Turkey. Where we went in Eastern Turkey was completely different than what you hear about in Istanbul and, Mediterranean Turkey, right? And so for us, we were in the most desolate of places. Mount Ararat sits in a corner of Turkey that's bordered by Iran on one side and Armenia on the other side. And so it's a completely desolate desert area that is dominated by Kurdish tribes. And the Kurdish tribes are shepherds. And what I found is that they have an immense love for America. The surprising thing that you talk about was how much these guys loved America. And I'll never forget being on the top of this mountain at 17,000 feet. Now, it's hard to breathe. It's hard to do anything. The wind is so great that it's blowing the tents down. There was a spot on the south part of the summit where the sun shines every day where there were rocks. And I was pulling rocks over to build a wall around my tent. And it was taking a long time. This young Kurdish boy shows up, one of our guides on our expedition. He has no gloves. He has holes in his shoes. It's 30 below. And he says, "My brother, I will help you build this wall." And when you experience that type of understanding and humanity that comes from someone who can barely speak your own language, you start to understand what is really important in life.
I think one of the things that I've noticed in my travels is that we try to make the world like we've got so many differences. Did you find that in your experiences, or did you find more to connect you to other people?
It's it's a very interesting question because as we've made this movie, and it's been a 2-year journey for us to get this movie made, I've had the opportunity to speak in front of a lot of groups. And the message that is very clear to me, there's a resounding message that has come from this experience in my life, and that is if we focus on the 95% of what unites us as human beings, we can accomplish anything. It's when we start to look at the 5% that differentiates us that we start to have problems. And when you think about taking a predominantly American group into eastern Turkey, we were a mile away from Iran, and we speak different languages, and we have different cultures, we have different history, we have different patterns of living, but we all got along. And we all worked together to accomplish something. And by the way, we had fun doing it in the midst of immense danger, because this is a real dangerous part of the world. It's a war zone. But we still found the opportunity to laugh and to hug and to enjoy life.
So now did you get that Indiana Jones bug? Are you definitely wanting to find the next thing?
Well, I've always kind of had it. But you know, there are people who go and look for relics. And you know, I'm not one of them. I'm a filmmaker. And so for me, the importance of this was being able to document these men who have that bug that you're talking about, men who spend their life doing things like this. And that's really what the message of Finding Noah is about. We get a chance to look into the hearts of everyday men. These guys are geologists and pastors and nurses and school teachers, and my crew of, you know, camera operators and sound guys who step outside of their normal life into a very dangerous part of the world. There's gunfire around us every day. And when you go up the mountain, out of the danger that's created by men, you go into a world of danger created by nature, with rock falls and ice falls and hidden crevasses and 50 below temperatures. And this glacier is going off of the side of the mountain in a 4,000-foot drop called the Ahura Gorge. This is not a pleasant place to be. But these men step into that danger because of their faith and because of their brotherhood. And so I want the world to see these guys, because to me it's inspirational. You know, I made this movie. I was 50 years old when I climbed Mount Ararat. It's the first time I've directed a film. I changed my job. I climbed a mountain. You can follow your dreams. It doesn't matter how old you are.
So really quickly, I just want you to tell us about your next project so that we can continue to follow your work.
Absolutely. I'm working on a project now that's about elephant preservation in Africa, and it's a mashup of 2 true stories that we've combined into one, and it's a fascinating story that both men and women will love. It will make you cry, and it will make you cheer. And to me, that's the kind of movie I want to make.
Thank you so much for sharing this incredible adventure with us. What an amazing, amazing story now you have to tell, and you get to share it with the rest of us.